Hey you guys, it's Jessica again. Welcome back to my channel. So the last time we talked, or you listened to me talk, I was describing, the preparation of getting ready for the first day of orientation, like buying the books and, buying the scrubs. I showed you what my scrubs look like. And doing a CPR class if you needed one or had to renew it. And so in this video, we will be talking about you're in class now. So, what to expect for these first 10 weeks leading up to clinicals and how that kind of takes place and what you'll be learning within those 10 weeks leading up to, your first day in the surgery room with the surgeons and the really good skilled techs. So, let's go for it. But before we do, I would love it if you can like, comment, and subscribe. That would be great. Thank you. So, when it comes to those first 10 weeks, what you're going to be learning is aseptic technique. That's like the biggest thing of this program. It's the biggest thing within your career. So you got to have that down no matter what. So aseptic technique is, practices and procedures to prevent, contamination from pathogens, which involves, like the strictest rules of, minimizing, the risk of infection. So, you have to really think about, not contaminating anything. That goes from instruments, not contaminating yourself, your gowns, your gloves, uh like I said, sutures, your sutures, your instruments, blades, just anything on that back table that you're setting up for that procedure. You need to make sure you do not contaminate. You need to make sure that nurse don't contaminate it, anybody else, the doctor. No one needs to contaminate that back table. And you tell them get away. So, with that being said, aseptic technique, that is the cream of the crop. It really, really is. So once you get that down, you're good. So those 10 weeks, you're learning about all nothing but aseptic technique and opening up that back table, not contaminating nothing, keeping things sterile. And along with that, within the process of learning all this aseptic technique, you're taking tests. So you got 3 classes, you know, within that process. You have Surge 1010, which is about 8 credit hours. You have Surge 1020, which is about 7 credit hours. And you have Surge 1080, 2 credit hours, which is because it's microbiology. And, for some people, if you would like to go into this program, I will give you a tip on this. Definitely take microbiology before you get into this program. You might be good too. You probably already took biology, but microbiology is a different ballgame. Definitely go for it, just like with pharmacology. I'm taking pharmacology right now, but I already took a general pharmacology class like a whole couple semesters ago. But when you take those 2 classes, it's a breeze because you don't have to like really really worry about dang, I don't understand this. No, you already got it. It's in your head. You already took this class. So microbiology, they had 3 tests and a comprehensive final, and that was the last 5 weeks of our 15 weeks, and that's when we were going to clinicals. But the first 10-10, that's like the first 10 weeks, and then 10-20 is the whole 15 weeks, and those both have 3 tests, and they're not really hard. Just picking the best answer. What's the best answer? So you going through that, and then coming into labs. That's right there is definitely a class and a job within itself. I'll say that. Also going through self checkoffs. And what that is, it's like you are going in the lab rooms and you're learning how to open up the back table. You're learning how to, open gloves and, kind of properly set them on the table without touching the table, because the back table is sterile. That's where your aseptic technique comes in at. You got to make sure you don't touch it. So with that, you're learning how to wash your hands, you're learning how to load suture, you're learning how to load the blade the proper way, Is when you get in the real world, you're gonna be seeing a whole bunch of folks doing a whole bunch of off the wall type of mess. I mean, you see it in clinicals, but a lot of times they'll make it clear it goes out the door once you graduate. But for the most part, I would rather just play it safe, especially being a new tech, or just being a student overall. They don't want you to, get any bad habits. They'll let you know they don't want you to follow their bad habits and everything. But eventually, you kind of go whatever, however way you want to go after you graduate. That's on you. But um, when it comes to the self checkoffs, you have, like I said, opening up the background, the back table. I said background, but yes, opening up the back table, learning how to set the back table up for the procedure, and putting on the mail cover on the mail stand where the main instruments will be, set at, and you learn a lot within this process. It's flowing. It's flowing real fast, So you have to kind of be on it. And when it comes to these, self checkoffs for labs, it's pass or fail. There's no in between. So if you're opening up that back table and you accidentally whoosh the little covering of the back table, you contaminated. You failed. Get out. Bye. Don't come back. Okay? No, they ain't gonna say that. They're not gonna say that. But you need to be careful. You really do, because it's a lot going on in the OR rooms. It's a lot. So one moment, you sitting here opening up the back table, there's circulators over here, over there. The surgeon might come in real quick. There's other techs in the room. There's the anesthesiologist kind of probably roaming around. So you have to be very, very aware. And some of them OR rooms are not really big. They're not yeah, they're not big. They're really not. So it's like you're still kind of limited within space, but yet you have to kind of make it work. So definitely watch how watch your surroundings. Definitely watch your surroundings. And if you drop something, you cannot pick it back up unless it's like a wrapper around it or something like that. And like I said, well, along with the aseptic technique, you have to learn how to check these wrappers, because sometimes they are not fully wrapped properly, and to the point there may be a hole in it. So you have to make sure you check the integrity of that package, because it might have a hole and probably accidentally open on the side and you didn't know, and you put it on that back table, you contaminated that whole back table. Aseptic technique. So they teach you this within the first 10 weeks. So you're going to learn what you need to learn before you hit that OR room by time your last 5 weeks of the clinicals of the whole 15 weeks. So the first 10 weeks, it's prepping you up to get ready, to kind of to kind of get your life on track before you hit that OR room and be with them surgeons. Because some of them surgeons, some of them are very, very nice, and some of them are very nice, but at the same time, they're ready to go. They give them the hemostat. Hurry up, let's go. Give them the scalpel. They ready to cut incision. Okay, so you have to make sure you're ready, but yet precise, and yet, like I say, keep the aseptic technique, right on top of your head. That's what the techs tell me when I'm in the surgical room with them in the surgical setting. Always, as long as you know that you are with it with the aseptic technique, and not trying to contaminate nothing, but you're not trying to, but be aware of trying, try to prevent it as much as you can, and you'll be okay, and not contaminate nothing. You'll be okay. It happens to the best of us. I've seen techs that done been doing this for 10, 20 years, and they accidentally, they might contaminate something, but you acknowledge it. And that's what the surgical conscience is. If you can't own up to the point that, damn, I bumped into that, you need to say something. Be like, hey, I bumped into it. Some people, you might think they might get mad at you, but I would rather for them to kind of get mad at me than think of me as a liability. So I'm going to say something. And I've done that one time. So, I've done it a couple times. Like, I'll be like, hey, I dropped this. Can we get another one or something, whoop de whoop, this and that? Or two, it was a time when I was in GYN. And all the times, my short self could never reach the lights. And I had the scope in my hand, get ready to hand it to the doctor. The lights want to be right above my damn head. And I hear ting. And I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness. And the tech who was watching over me for that day, she was like, "What happened?" I said, "I hit the scope on there on the light," and she was like, "I said I contaminated it." And I felt so horrible. And I had never worked with the doctor before. He was so sweet. He was pretty cool about it. You know, he was ready to get his stuff done for the little GYN little procedure. But like, you need to own up to, to if you mess up, it's okay. It happens to the best of us. So that aseptic technique and the surgical conscience, own up to it. When you own up to it, it's gonna make things go a lot more smoother. But sometimes they get a little aggravated. They do, because sometimes, just like that day, I ended up knocking the scope on the light. They had to go get a whole nother scope. They had to go to SPD to go get a whole nother scope. I felt so horrible. I was like, oh my god, it's time for me to go home. Where 2 o'clock at? So they were lucky enough to find the last scope that he needed. And just imagine if they didn't find that damn scope. He probably would have been like, "Don't you ever come around into my case again." But I got lucky, okay. So they joked around. They was like, "Yeah, it's time for you to go home. You go take a nap. It's gonna be okay. Come back tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I got a weekend from me. I ain't coming back. I'll be back next Tuesday. I'll be more prepared." So with that being said, like I said, your aseptic technique, that's the most important thing of this program. That is what your career basically, in my eyes, your career revolves around keeping that patient safe, and making sure making sure you're helping out the doctor. You're his extra hands. So you need to make sure you're on your A game when it comes to the aseptic technique. You want to make sure, like I said, happy patient, safe patient, successful surgery, happy surgeon. Just make sure you are anticipating his next move, and like I said, without contaminating anything. So that kind of plays out, just it makes things go a lot more smoother. But that's all I have for today. So I hope you guys have a good evening. But again, before you leave, like, comment, and subscribe, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'll be back with another video. Good night.